Today we're gonna be making 3 recipes that are baby friendly and toddler friendly. They are portable, so you can take them on the go with you or you can have them at home. I had somebody ask me some recipe ideas or what I do when I pack food on the go for Owen, and I can do another video more in depth on that, but it can be a really big struggle trying to find something that's healthy, it doesn't make a huge mess, and it's just portable and homemade, which is always really nice. I can also share in the future some snacks that we like to purchase from the store because you can't always make homemade items. But for today, let's do these 3 recipes. I can't wait to make them with you. I'm really excited, so let's jump right into it. The first recipe I'm starting off by making today is homemade broccoli tots. These are gonna have broccoli, brown rice that I was just cooking in the microwave, some mozzarella cheese, Parmesan, eggs, breadcrumbs, and some seasoning. You'll need a food processor to get this all blended up, and I'm starting off by measuring out that rice that I just cooked. And I'm going to double this recipe. That's always part of what I love to do when I am cooking for Owen or for myself and the rest of the family, and making things in advance, especially things that I can freeze in the future. So I double the recipe, save half of it for the freezer and half of it for now. So I will list out on the screen the ingredients for one batch of this recipe, and you can feel free to double it if you would like. Add in 1 cup of fully cooked rice, half a cup of shredded mozzarella, a tablespoon of grated Parmesan cheese, followed by 2 eggs. Add in 1/4 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. You can add salt if you want. I opted not to. And then you're gonna add in your broccoli. And I just had some frozen veggies, so I used frozen broccoli. You need 1 cup of broccoli. The frozen did turn out just fine, but you can use fresh as well. And since I didn't have enough broccoli and doubled the recipe, I actually used some frozen peas as well, and this worked out really well. I would think you could swap out cauliflower or another similar vegetable as well, so you can try and get creative with this recipe. It's really not that finicky. And then I am using a cookie scoop here to make the broccoli tots about the same size, rolling them in my hands first and laying them on a parchment lined baking sheet. Once you get everything on the baking sheet, you're going to add the tots to your preheated oven, which should have been preheated at 375 degrees, and it should take about 25 minutes for them to cook. You want them to be a little bit golden brown on the top and firm to the touch. Here is what the final after of my broccoli tots looks like. They were delicious. I had to stop myself from wanting to eat all of them. You'll see as I'm packaging them up and putting some in the freezer, my second batch did get a little bit crispier, but both tasted delicious. Both were fine whether they are lightly golden brown or a little bit more golden brown like the second batch there. I am using a freezer safe Ziploc bag, stuffing them in there. Gonna try and get out as much air as possible and keep those in the freezer, and the rest will be fresh in the fridge. For the next recipe, I am going to make some homemade cheese crackers. I've never made anything like this, and I was surprised at how simple and easy it was. They were delicious. I started off with 3/4 of a cup of whole wheat flour, followed by 1/2 cup of rolled oats. Then you can add in a 1/2 cup of milk and 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. If you're paying close attention, I did double this recipe as well and added a mixed blend of cheese to get just enough in there. I also added in 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary. Finally, add in 2 tablespoons of cold butter that you've diced into small pieces into that food processor and blend it up. And it shows if I'm honest. You're the leaves in mid-August, and I've come out here to say take your dough out of the food processor and put it on a piece of parchment paper. You want it to be in a disc shape, and then you will put the other piece of parchment paper on top of it so you can roll it out nice and thin and cut it out into shapes. I love this rolling pin because you can change the sides of it depending on how thick you want your dough to roll out. For this recipe, they do recommend rolling it out to a 1/4 inch thick. And I'm playing around with some cookie cutters that I got that have proved to be very useful for little kid meals and toddler meals, and I'm sure they will be even more useful as Owen continues to get older and will be paying more attention to the shapes of his food and will probably enjoy these. So I'm playing around with different sizes. The set that I purchased has 3 different sizes of cookie cutters. This is the very smallest, and I thought these would be nice for small little kind of goldfish style or little crackers. And then I wanted to make some that were a tiny bit larger as well, not only just to have different options of cracker sizes, but also because the small ones were very tedious to make. You'll see I was using a knife to pop them out. This recipe was very easy, but the worst part and the part that took the longest was cutting them out. So if you make small shapes, just be aware that this can be time consuming. I think oftentimes one of the reasons that we don't make things from scratch all the time is because it is more time consuming to do so. So if you find a way to make things a little bit faster, like using a larger cookie cutter, or with the broccoli tots, how I used frozen broccoli, whatever it is you can do, even if it feels like you're cutting a corner maybe, you're still making a homemade meal for your child. And that is so special and something to be proud of. By no means does everything you serve your child have to be homemade, but it does feel really nice every now and then to make something where you know what the ingredients are. And like I've said over and over again, when you cook in bulk and you utilize the freezer, you don't have to cook as often, and it makes homemade meals a breeze. I rolled and re-rolled this dough quite a few times to make sure I was getting the most out of all of it, and then I baked it in the oven at 375 degrees on a parchment-lined baking sheet for about 15 minutes. You can store these in an airtight container for about 2 days on the countertop, or you could also freeze them for up to 3 months. The last and final recipe I'm making is so simple, and you might not think of this as an easy snack or something that you can prep in advance, but I am going to make Owen a smoothie. I'm even sneaking some veggies in here. I am using cauliflower, great thing to add to a smoothie. I love also adding spinach if you have that. I did a little bit of a tropical fruit blend. I used coconut milk. I'm grabbing things like flax seeds, chia seeds, and pouring that in as well. I have some hemp seeds, just packing in as many nutrients as I can, and I am going to fully blend that smoothie up in my blender. And then you have a few different options for how you want to save this and serve this. You can put them into pouches like I'm going to do to stick them in the freezer here. I'm grabbing my reusable pouches. If you're worried about making a mess with a smoothie in a pouch, especially as it thaws out, you can use one of the tips that I just attached to this first one. It is a tip that makes it so your child has to suck a little bit for the contents of the pouch to come out instead of just dumping straight out. Or if you have a kid that likes to squeeze the pouch and stuff explodes out of it, you can try one of those tips that I will link in the description box below, as well as these reusable pouches. Then I stick these straight in the freezer, and you can pull them out a little bit before snack time, or you can take them with you on the go frozen, and then by the time you're ready to use them, they will have thawed out to the perfect temperature and your kid can have them as a snack. The other option is to keep some fresh in the refrigerator, and you can pour it into a cup with a straw for your child to enjoy that way. Probably best to consume it within 24 hours. If you have an older toddler, you can make them into popsicles using a fun popsicle mold like the one I have here that has a straw they can suck out of. Here Owen is enjoying it in a pouch as a snack.
I wonder who we'd be.
Thanks again so much for watching today's video. If you have other meals that you struggle with and you'd love for me to share more recipes, let me know. If you want breakfast ideas or more snacks, whatever it might be, or if you are interested in hearing more about what types of prepared foods I purchased from the store, I can share that as well. I am so glad you guys were here with me for today's video and joining me in general through this journey of motherhood as we together make it sophisticated. Until next time, I will see you guys later.